Probably your phone will tell you any moment, Aaron.
Right, I got a new phone and all the notifications for everything are on.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get that one notification that you don't know where it came from.
Yeah, it's
Drive me crazy.
very, well, because I didn't used to get the YouTube notification. I don't know how it knows,
It's too smart.
because it's a totally different
You just have to
Gmail
turn it
account.
off.
I know,
you
yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrifying as
Are
having,
you sitting with nothing to do?
it's okay. It's okay. I'm in now. I'm all right.
Nice.
Yeah. Was talking to a friend about something. We were talking about if they might be yoga for golf.
Yeah.
My phone starts spitting out like everything on the feeds on Instagram and everything. Like, come on, you know?
Yeah. It knows you're there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It was recommending
Is this
videos
month's
and
poll
things.
a little less, Mike? You
Hmm?
see RRA, is this a little less at 14? No,
No, it's about
is
normal.
it
I think
average?
last month was 11.
Was it 11?
Yeah.
I was thinking running
Yeah.
15 or 16.
No, that's about normal. It's usually somewhere, the total between the two is usually somewhere between 12 and 14, 12 and 15.
Yeah, I was thinking it was higher.
See my son just come in
Is that your
to bring
son?
me some food.
Yeah.
He's more lazy now than ever because he's going to college in 3 weeks. He's like, I just want to lay around.
I love his hair, man.
Yeah, it's big. But he did great in school. So
Did he?
we're letting him lay around for a week or two.
We talked about the high
GPA?
school kids and everything, but college kids to have the self-discipline to be stuck in the classroom or the dorm rooms and stuff. I had no friends that took the semester off and, you know, rightfully so, but for the ones that battled through, God bless them. you
Yeah.
know?
He just graduated round out, so he didn't get a GPA, but he had
Oh, I'm
straight
sorry.
A's.
He was tall enough
Yeah,
to be
he's good.
Oh, I
college.
thought he was in college. no?
He's starting exam in Burlington.
Oh, is he
at the end
really?
of August.
What's he studying?
Environmental psychology.
There you go.
What's wrong with these crazy humans ruining the globe? But he got
Help.
an academic
I
scholarship.
need it.
He really, God bless him.
I tested them all.
I know, it
Oh,
just
right.
gets out about halfway through.
I
It
asked
gets
him today to
tired.
order another set.
Really?
It's time to retire these.
I didn't know if we had to wait until the 2022 budget.
I'm down for
Put
a
that in the
little
line
bit.
item.
Hey, we got
I'll-
3 years out of these.
I
Brian
didn't,
came up with that idea. In
I didn't bring the red one, so I'm gonna be
2019.
black. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
I could have one.
You got one?
Yeah.
Great. That ought to confuse things considerably.
Everyone needs a red pen.
Well,
Just don't write your
Usually-
check in.
yeah, I
Yeah.
usually have one, but this time I don't.
It's funny when we were paid for the insurance industry, you had to be in black. If you something else, it was an automatic decline.
Notarizations
Yeah.
are all black.
But hospitals are always blue, so you can tell that it's live ink. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no go?
No, sorry.
Okay, I just pulled my matching.
Yeah.
It's okay. Listen, Chris,
Yes,
it's okay.
okay.
Tim's gonna order it. I just asked him today.
It exactly, and then it comes back. So I might have a few more signatures out of it.
I think Aaron's is a replacement.
It just gets tired.
Yeah, mine doesn't have my name on it anymore.
No,
It just gets
But we have the
tired.
medium color.
yeah.
So I think
Well, I'm a creature of habit. I just, these paper made.
Yeah.
I like the way they write.
It's funny, you get into when we used to do a lot of writing for work. You get into the pen that you really, everything else either smudged or your handwriting was.
Being left-handed, I have a
Mhm.
habit of going over, it, so
Yeah,
I
me
don't
too.
want one.
I'm a
Oh.
pencil person.
Is that the left-handed side of the table? No, is
That's
that
why
you
I had
guys
to
do?
move.
Oh,
Gotcha.
okay.
All
You
right,
weren't
balance
telling
this thing
anybody.
out. Open elbows here. trying to do stuff.
Ah,
Yeah.
Actually, I had to sit in a certain seat as a kid because my siblings hated me.
In biology, all the lefties were at the same table.
Really? And
So we didn't slice anybody.
had a customer from the Dominican Republic, and there they teach them how to write in cursive upside down. They would take the piece of paper and turn it like this, and then this way, so they wouldn't smudge anything. But he would write upside down and backwards.
Yeah, my mom did this.
Yeah.
I've seen doctors that I was allowed to stay left-handed, but I had to keep my paper tipped this,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you see it.
Yeah.
My
I couldn't
uncle,
do, I don't know how they did.
my uncle grew in Italy and they beat him from using his left hand.
That's,
And
yes.
I always now go from the right to the
Yes,
left because I don't
yes.
smudge, start back here.
Oh, there you go. Funny that it
Okay, everyone, welcome to the Town of Rochester July Workshop Audit Meeting. We'll stand to the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nate, if you do the roll call, please.
Councilwoman Allen. Here. Councilman Hockley Pugh.
Here.
Councilman Hewitt.
Here.
Councilman Paddock.
Here.
Supervisor.
Here. Your timing is perfect, Mary Lou.
good.
We were just starting the regular meeting.
The snacks.
Yeah.
He took them
Sign
away.
off
What is
meeting.
that?
His son brought him dinner.
Okay, we have two resolutions. First is a recommended resolution upon recommendation of Department Head Fry, Supervisor Baden, and Councilwoman Anowen. Town of Rochester Town Board appoints, and I'm going to insert the name Tara Van Leuven, VanLeUVen, to fill the vacant position of laborer transfer station at a rate of pay of $16 per hour for 32 hours worked per week. And I forgot to write in the effective August 3rd, 2021.
August 3rd, the Tuesday.
Tuesday. That'll be our first day of work.
Okay.
This employee will be designated to fill the position of laborer clerical under the Town of Rochester job duty description. Do I have that motion?
That motion?
Okay, Aaron, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Next, appointment of employee transfer station laborer. Upon recommendation of Department Head Fry, Supervisor Baden, and Councilwoman Anowen, the Town of Rochester Town Board appoints Paul Storms to fill the vacant position of laborer transfer station at a rate of pay of $15 per hour for 32 hours worked per week, effective 8/3/2021. This employee will be designated to fill the position of laborer attendant in the Rochester job duty description. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay. I will let both of them know that they have been accepted by the board and next week. We're gonna, I guess, skip over the next portion for a brief moment. The gentleman who has made the request for this zoning change, I emailed you the zoning permit, and he put together a PowerPoint presentation, but I sent them as PDFs so you could see the slides. This request at 1819 Burm Road. I will let him explain it, but he did go to the planning board with a pre-app. And it's my understanding that it was conveyed to him that this is a zoning request that they recommend. So he was supposed to be here this evening to explain his ask, and then for us to decide if we're going to move forward with the application. So why don't we skip over that agenda item for the moment? And we'll move to local law 3 of 2021, which was formerly local law 2 of 2021, the short-term rentals. I emailed you, but I also made copies of the comments from the county planning board. And from the town planning board. Okay. These are 2 pages each. Sorry, I didn't staple them. but since they are here, backtrack to that. Welcome. Come on up and join us here.
If you're interrupting, we can.
No, we were moving forward to the next agenda item. It's here. We will go back to you. So
right.
please, you want to
Yes,
bring a chair
Yeah,
up
I'm gonna
closer?
go here.
You're-
but I can't.
So I was expecting request for a zoning change. I believe it was for 2 parcels, you said? For
Correct.
1819 Berm Road.
Right.
And I'll let you,
Find out a few things. You guys have reference points. Yeah, I'm
I guess
Costa.
they're the same. They're not the
This is
same.
Tika,
Um,
and we live on 1890, about 5 minutes from here. Sages Loop,
Mhm.
next to the rail trail access. So we've been here for about, oh, I have copies for everybody. Actually, she has copies for everybody.
Great, thank you.
But
Okay.
I might keep my mask on. Our son. fell
that's quite all
sick,
right, whatever you're most
and
comfortable
I
with.
just, in terms of work, I just don't want to get
Okay.
anybody.
Understood.
See this and-
Oh, I'll give the floor to you. You can tell us what you're proposing, where, and there.
sure. So you and I were discussing just a little while ago, we wanted to first trying to go through, and we moved here about 6 months ago, and we wanted to do something like this for a long time, basically having an agritourism space. And we also read a few things that are going to initiate 2040 and other aspects. With quite some time ago with Mr. Chris, and he said, think about it like this, and when you have a plan, come back to me. And Jerry said the exact same thing. So I spoke with Jerry and Chris Kelder and Cornell and a few other places, including her mother, who knows a few people upstate, Zittles Farms. And her mother is a horticulturist. And they said to the town and asked them. So we went to Mike, and Mike said, well, go to the zoning and planning board and see what they say. So I had a visit at our place about almost a month ago. And yeah, and she said that, have you guys thought about rezoning? Because it's an odd fit here. It's a big parcel and you're right next to Kelders and a few other places. And with what you want to do, it kind of resonates well.
Across the river.
Yeah, right across the creek.
So we're the border right next to rail trail in the water, and then all the cows and the dairy farms. are-
Yes, the rail trail, the access, basically it's an easement for a parcel. You can take it off. You want to.
I know, it's just right.
Whatever you're most comfortable with.
Our son just has some cold, summer cold,
Mhm.
and she's being cautious that she doesn't
Fair.
transmit
I'm
anything.
wearing mine because my daughter's a nanny and
Oh.
the little kid she
Hi, Mary.
watches could, hello, be vaccinated. So,
Oh, yeah, that's. I'm
yeah, so
sorry,
don't be
no.
uncomfortable if you want to wear your
Yes,
mask.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'll wear
No, it's
please,
quite all right.
please.
know
No,
what?
no, please put it on. I just will wear it. I'll wear
I
it.
have mine.
I'll
with me
wear
also.
mine if it
I'm
makes you feel
fine.
Comfortable. I'm
No, no,
fine.
Uh-huh.
no,
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 please,
whatever
it's
you
fine.
need, it's fine.
Sages Airport on your property?
Yes, so
Yes.
that's what I was just going to say. So basically the access, rail trail access is I think it's about half an acre to acre easement. And right next to it is the old Sages Airstrip or airport, whatever you want to call it. And we have tried to maintain it, but there are areas where we will growing some flowers and other things that she wants to do. And that's
On the
actually, I
same
have
side?
included in the presentation I
Yeah, there's
circulated last.
larger packet. I'll pass it around. It's ready.
We have enough printing capacity.
Yeah.
So
We
that's.
just have a whole
See.
printer, so.
Yeah, this
But
is nice.
Sages.
I just go to the Staples and then take care of it.
And
That's what I thought.
I can explain that. So the pages that I,
Mhm.
if you look at the ones with the red
Mhm.
out here, these are our parcels.
Yes.
And Arrowhead and Kelders are
Mhm.
first of their parcel. And the other parcel is slightly away,
Mhm.
and same thing on this side. So this is all AR. And both Maureen and Jerry, when they looked at it, they asked me, it's this three. And I said, actually, no, it's R2.
Everything along there was basically treated as residential along that area, and everything surrounding it on the Burn Road side is all R2. But with it bordering the rail trail and the creek and directly across the creek is AR3. And with it being a larger parcel, I suggested he look into this, and it fits more what he's looking to do residential on this property, so.
Yeah, I'll take it.
let-
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and sort of finish your presentation. but-
No, actually, that's a good segue. We moved here, we wanted to move here because we like the area. And where I grew up when I was a kid, we had all farm. Same with her, she grew up actually
I
in,
grew up in Alabama, which is a, university town. Obviously, there's a lot of farms still there. And both my parents worked at Duke University. They were like assistant professors and researchers there. Ski, so all sorts of different universities. So my parents both, my mom and dad had to be dragged away to visit the garden, back home. But that's something that they really enjoy. We've always liked about kind of being near nature, but also being able to make things as well. It is definitely very gratifying. It's a lot of work, clearly. I'm not as good as my parents, of course, but this particular property, we had looked at, all those perfect little properties that were just great. But they had, this one really spoke to us because we were thinking of my parents, his parents, and obviously for our son, we want to kind of grow up the way I did. I wasn't for rich, this is like very Southern living. So I did all things outdoors and I enjoyed it. I was very safe. And here, being this great piece of land in sort of a rural area and sort of like and our amazing neighbors that we've gone to know over the last 6 years has really made my son, really blossom, I would say. He's pretty much a nice kid. And I would say it's moving here and having older role models, Mr. Bruce and Mr. Vernon.
yeah, our
who are-
neighbors.
are-
Very lucky, actually. We mentioned that earlier as well. But what we decided, we wanted to grow things, some traditional, some non-traditional things. And we'll see where it ends up with her mom, my parents and everything, as she's saying. And also be able to expand our scope perhaps to some research and implementation of that on a smaller scale. Similar to a lot of other farms that are already doing here. We spoke with Bo Samuelson upon the recommendation of both Maureen and himself, and then also some from Cornell. And they also said the exact same thing, that the things you're doing, you'll fit in very well. Have you thought about this? And so that's why we came here. We can provide a lot more detail. We were told to be short in certain places, and if you have questions, we can address those. A copy of the presentation that I
I'm
gave.
sort of passing it around here
Yes.
so everybody can see the bigger presentation.
That one has a slide which kind of details out where we would like to do. So we want to be very open with.
The one with the circles on it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I
exactly.
think that one, this one that Aaron has some additional that
Oh,
one
okay.
doesn't have.
Yeah, that one is slightly older. In the new one, I
Okay.
included a DC map as well because Martin said that should be included.
This is the digital.
It should be.
Yeah,
saw all
Chris,
that.
the
I
one that Aaron has has a few additional slides that are.
I can
included in the-
forward you this one as well, actually.
Yeah, fascinating.
But the idea is we don't want to destroy the existing ecosystem. And we want to use what I believe the land was actually planned for at one, because there are a lot of cleared areas and there are a lot of now dead ash trees, which we have to figure out what to do with, because I don't want to simply put them in the wood stove. And we want to be able to see if we can do something along those lines. That way is going back to Mike's point, hopefully our son will like it and he will not subdivide and sell it.
No,
That's my
forbidden.
objective.
He's forbidden to do
And
anything.
we have certain ways of ensuring that, but it's his decision ultimately. But we'd like to at least show him what's possible. And
I think that's one of the things, when kids come over to visit, especially our nephew, My nephew lives in India, Bombay, and a very congested area. So when he comes here, I see such a great difference in him. Obviously, he gets fresh air, the space as well. So I think, I will also say, I also went to school and I lived in Arizona. My parents worked there the last part of their careers. And I anyone's been to Phoenix or that area, but there's a lot of subdivisions and a lot of track houses and just everything looks the same at every exit. It was for miles and miles and miles. And I think both of us really did not like that at all. So we didn't want that feeling to be in that sort of environment again. So this area really, I think, fits us really well. And those, as I said, I keep talking about our neighbors, but I really love Mr. Turner. I mean, they really have been the reason that has made life so much better. He's pulled me out of a lot of issues. I banged my car up by mistake because I hit a tree backing up. He came to my house immediately one night. I'm sure someone from the fire department will know. My car caught on fire. He came out with a blanket, picked up my son, who was at that time too, and put him in his car immediately. He had come from the city that same day. He saw the car, all the fire trucks coming. He came immediately, and so took care of us. And there's carbon monoxide coming into our home. To leave and be safe, but all these like things I remember, and my parents, of course, know this as well. So I'm really grateful. Don't want to be. They know this very well. We would never do anything to make their peaceful. So
No, we have talked to them
that's
actually.
something that we really want to respect.
No, we have talked to them and we have asked them, hey, this is what we want to do. What do you guys think? And their responses was, can we come too?
Yes.
Yes, of course. But no, they're actually educated people, both by way of training and otherwise. And they're very responsible in how they help us. Sometimes they tell us, do it yourself, but I think that's kind of the culture we want to be able to build. And we want to be able to see if we can add to the community. And when we say it in earnest, that we want to be able to do something because we truly believe that if we can do better, then everybody should be able to do better as well. And if that's possible, we can try. And there are quite a few friends of ours trying to do something similar in Ellenville, not more art oriented.
Community-based, basically.
But community, yeah. So, well, yeah.
I don't know.
One of the things that came up in our discussion and was reiterated by both Jerry and Maren is that some of the uses that you're looking at in the traditional R2, which is primarily and to be residential homes, some of these agricultural uses wouldn't be allowed or be via special use permit, whereas what we're proposing now, B will be the first one to tell you, as will I, that any zoning change like this stays with the land, although with a zoning change, a future town board could rezone the property, but an approval by the planning board.
Yes.
What we would have to do is, I have transmitted the application for the zoning process, the zoning change process to him. This tonight is just a preliminary discussion for us to say, yes, we want to consider this, or no, we don't want to. That's the difference between us and the planning board. The planning board must review whatever is applied for. We get to say yes or no. So that's really what tonight is, to say, should we both move further forward with this? The thing is too, we're going from an R2 to an AR3, which is a greater density. I said that backwards, which in some ways is so I just throw these things out. The presentation, we certainly will, he will build on if we decide to move forward, but.
Yes,
So
we have.
What, I don't know, I let the board ask you any questions and then, but I just wanted to reiterate that it's about the project itself, not necessarily about.
No, true, and thank you
Yeah.
for guiding us there,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
But
So in your presentation, you said that you want to create an intimate event space. Could you elaborate on what type of events that you're
Yeah.
planning on?
you want to speak to it?
No, it's good job.
Okay.
More eloquent.
Well, no, we have thought about certain specific events that we would like to have. And we actually should preface, we would like to request from the planning board, which I've talked to Maren about and said in the presentation as well. The town allows 12 paid events, let's say. We would like to offer up our space for actually more events for which we won't charge, but we can have community development events there. But not going that way and digressing, what events we have thought about, anywhere from personal events to more arts events. We have not, I want to be very clear, we don't want concerts there.
Okay.
We don't want, we want to live there too. It's not that we're just going to create an event space and loud, etc. We actually had a conversation with Maren about that too. We would prefer to have corporate events there, which are very low key and people are in certain areas if possible. Or the way I explained it to Bert was we want to have events where people can participate in the agriculture that we're doing. And not everybody has, certain individuals can involve themselves. So we have friends who have children who have already told us, hey, can men work there? And we won't charge anything because we're already going to college. But we want to be able to open to almost all events, but not music, concerts of those kind of things.
That's the big thing is you get is the noise. The other big thing that you're gonna hear a lot about is the traffic, especially on the berm, so, again, those are things well, how big, of an event are you planning on a 40-acre parcel?
So it will not be on the full thing first.
Mhm.
It'll be more localized. And so the airstrip that he meant, I'm sorry,
Councilman Chris Hewitt.
Councilman Chris, okay, I just want to make sure. And Councilman Paddock, right?
Correct.
Yes, all right. We have designated certain areas and we went over with it with Maren as well,
Mhm.
that yep, there'll be during site visit that there'll be a parking area, which can actually accommodate according to the calculations up to 50 cars.
Okay.
We don't want to do that. We prefer not to. If somebody says, we people, fine, it's okay. They're coming singularly, each car from different directions. But right across that on the airstrip, if I could get up and show you, I can. I don't want to approach without asking. So this is the airstrip. It's 2,500 to 2,700 feet end to end. This is the access from Brown Road.
Mhm.
Our house is right here. There's a old hangar which has been resuscitated quite a bit. And there could be the inside area if somebody chooses to use it. But we would prefer in this green dotted line somewhere here, they can host the event. So we don't want people going around everywhere and walking around. They can go around on a trail or something like that.
Can you
We don't
point
want-
at the rail trail?
Rail trail is right here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and the rail trail access that I was mentioning is this one. And there's a gate here, and we also have a gate here. So that's north, and this would be south.
Yeah.
And here is I won't go through all the details. Here are a lot of things. Want to grow grapes somewhere, maybe if we can grow fruits, mushrooms and things like that. Here, we would like to do flowers. So that actually restricts people from going towards in the direction of these lot lines. So we want to naturally contain the people's flow, flow, so they don't just stray to a different place. Plus, one thing Maren had asked us, and we thought about it quite a bit, is signage. So it's not just about the outside signage. In fact, we don't want signage if we could avoid it. We can only hang a sign when we need to so that somebody can identify. But more importantly, inside, because what we would like to do is make sure there are signs posted saying no trespassing or private property or things like that.
It's just basically restrict, so people don't obviously go to Mr. Bruce's or Berners or.
Yeah,
someone
anybody
else's.
else's.
I mean,
house.
fortunately, the other place that you can go to is obviously towards the end of the property, but I think if you.
But there's a big creek at the end of the property.
Exactly, so
you
there's
can't
a-
really do-
And we have a lot of trees and we have a lot of brush that makes it difficult to just kind of meander through,
Mhm.
like bramble basically,
Mhm.
yes. So that
You
definitely
would-
restrict-
You would eventually, when you get in front of the planning board, if you choose to pursue this,
Yeah.
you would have to have a very detailed site plan drawn that would show all these
Yes.
areas on your site plan.
So
And that would all be part of your drawing.
I didn't include it here.
Sounded like you already have it.
Yeah, I do, because Maren had given me both of us a lot of direction. She spent a lot of time, so did Jerry, and so have you. So we really appreciate this. What we have done is I've created a parking plan. I've created showing on that where the parking would be and distance from everywhere, etc. We have the lighting plan for the building, what light we would use on pathways, etc.
Mhm.
We also have a good idea. I have not put it on paper because that's more aesthetic as well. Safety barricades, because there are slopes along the driveway. If we don't want somebody going there, we can just put a barricade towards the next property instead of having a fence. I'm not a big proponent of fences, so
I mean, sort of natural ways to keep people
I
in
like
one
the idea
area.
of the natural flowers and
exactly.
things. People
Next
don't
time.
usually go tramping through them. They
No.
seem to respect
well, she's
them.
going to make.
Well, that's next year's.
We
plan.
had a lot of winds, right? And we have a lot of willows, about 30 willows or so. So we had a lot of branches fall. She
trees
made
fell
us put them
yesterday.
all in water so they can root. Now we're gonna make fences out of it.
Beautiful.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
A
that
lot
is
of
nice.
Yeah, but our neighbor lost his 40-year-old tree yesterday. It was terrible. It was really
In that
sad.
storm, yeah.
Yeah, and it was, it's massive. So I think he saved some of the big branches for me and I'm gonna go and get those.
But one last thing I wanted to mention on the plan, that other thing we have is the noise mitigation that we want to consider, that if there is noise mitigation to be done, we have thought about where to put basically noise reducing blankets on a fence. And how far actually to actually have the parking go close to somebody's lot line. So we're also determining how far we really want to go rather than how far can we go.
Yep.
We want to actually willows. She wants to plant willows everywhere and keep them short. So that adds to the noise reduction as well, because we heard willows are very good with that. Things
So
like that.
Yes, exactly. We were looking at all of those things and, and you were asking about the size of events. Again, we have my parent and his parents, so finally got the shots, right? I really don't want to have someone drinking too much and my kid is there, the dogs are there. Children that are, that come overnight and stay with my kids. So I don't want it to be I don't want to become a situation that's not for any of us. Obviously, safety of little kids and my parents and his parents are really foremost and our elderly neighbors. So that I know what you're really concerned about, if someone that's drinking or not paying attention or bringing them to the wrong places or how to keep the noise low. And I think that's also a matter of
How many people?
well, how many people, but also being not just signing somebody up just because they say, I'll give you this deposit for it. I think it's a matter of sort of assessing the character of that person and hopefully they're people and the responsibility they also have to take. There's a 10 p.m. rule, obviously. We want people to be packed up and ready to go and be out of there and do 11 o'clock, everybody should be out. And I think that works for the most part in most of the places. We have heard of some obstructive spaces already over the years. And so I understand, obviously, that's a concern for people.
I think.
But I don't know if if those perhaps those people were more younger or had a different set of assessments when they chose to engage the party that they were bringing out to their property.
I think the biggest thing that you find is, and I've been very fortunate to work on a lot of the event spaces in the town of Rochester, is where they're located, and it usually comes down to the public hearing.
Yep.
Again, the biggest thing that you can do is be friendly with your neighbors but again, this is all residential. There's nothing like this on that side of the river. The other side of the river, you're absolutely right. It's it's almost exclusive like that, like that, but you are creating something unique on the berm. So we're attempting to anyway.
No, we agree. And actually, I do want to address one thing first. Whatever the town's limits are, we want to go with those ordinances. We don't want to create something that is this number we want to do. We don't want to do that. And events is not our primary. goal.
That was gonna be my next question.
So I was trying
What
to
your
stray
primary
from
goal-
that. Events is not the primary objective.
Mhm.
The idea is to be able to sustain what we want to do with doing events that we can mirror. And something can involve in what we're doing. She has ideas and a lot of our friends have ideas too. small, perhaps if we can open up to schools, this is something we don't want to do yet because it
Mhm.
goes into education, this thing, and I'm opening up a can of worms that I don't want to, frankly. But I would love to invite kids who are, I don't know, underprivileged or as privileged as anybody else, but are interested in
And what-
certain things, be it agriculture, be it art. Want to do some physics experiments and
Yeah.
but you have to be responsible. And that's where she's, I think, alluding that we want to be responsible by way of making sure whosoever we host, they're responsible, accountable.
Exactly, you know, one of the things that I've always found very interesting about all of these areas is how sometimes inaccessible it is because of pricing. And specifically about the non-revenue generating events would be something like the Maker's Market, because I have so many friends that really make so little money. By the time they set up and do everything and bring their ceramics or their art, whatever it is, you know, they sell 2 pieces. And that whole weekend they have to be there, you know, from 8 in the morning or 6 in the morning till like 10 o'clock at night. And then the cost of the renting the space as well. And just because I've seen that so many years, I went to design school, I worked in, I want to be able to offer our space. And obviously, going back to how do you manage that? And I guess one of the greatest things about, one of the positive aspects of COVID has been the idea of people getting used to ticketed times. You know, whether it's a free event or not free event, right? We'll say, hey, from 10 to 12, if you're 0 to 25. these are the-
Similar to what Kelder's farm is doing and a lot of other things they're doing too, because if
But
we can
the
have a
time to-
farm that allows access to people, we don't have to have everybody at the same time.
Exactly.
We want to focus on, well, we would prefer to focus on non-event items. We prefer to do agriculture of things that we can actually use, perhaps in medicinal ways. There are farms that are doing that right now. Perhaps something that can grow here is not invasive and has not been grown. And things
One of,
like,
one of the things for years is ginseng is supposed to be amazing in the area and nobody does it here.
Mhm.
We
I
have
should
the-
show you.
Sorry to
exactly
mess
where-
up your
No,
business
you
plan.
did
No,
not.
no, no,
No,
no,
no.
we've actually.
Sorry.
looking at
That's
Yeah.
that.
okay, please
There
do.
you go.
The last
This is
years
where I
were-
want to grow ginseng because I have a lot of, I have a lot of dead trees and I also have a lot of maple and oak there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to kill the trees, but I want to be able to use them.
I don't know if you know Francis at Catskill Native Nursery, but he does trainings on how ginseng can pay property taxes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I should go
We're
there.
there, we're there a lot, but I
Yeah.
did not know that was
Yeah.
that was happening.
I
Do
don't
you
know the
know
numbers.
if there's a history of using that backfield as farmland?
Yes, so I didn't know how to find it. So what I did was I looked at Ulster County parcel, your older pictures from
Mhm.
90s. And these areas where it says it's not very clear. It says cleared in circles. So the area was cleared, I think,
Yeah.
about 15, 20, maybe more years ago. And we also found out from our neighbors who purchased from original neighbors that about 550 acres at one point, a while ago, was all blueberry farms.
And there's one
and-
big parcel actually. was
And
the
this big,
Cohens?
yeah, so the Cohens lived,
Actually, sounds right.
no, they lived right here in this house, which is 4 houses from ours.
Cohen's built the
Uh,
airport,
Yes,
correct?
yep,
Yes,
Sam Cohen and
Yes.
yes.
Sam and all.
that's right.
And that's the acronym for
gang.
SAGES.
That's
and
right.
Ava,
Oh, really?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
I
right.
didn't know
Yes.
that.
It's all the partners that created
That's
that.
correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Thought there was sage in there.
We just
Yeah, me
lost
too.
the sign though, just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
Werner had the sign and gave it to the, he gave it to the rightful owners. He gave it to the, one of the descendants
Oh,
of Sam Cohen.
Yeah, it was one of
No,
those.
no, no.
Because one of the things that I think is interesting too about this parcel, I know there are trees growing on it. It
Yeah.
looks like it's newer growth. The entire parcel is prime agricultural soil or farmland of statewide importance.
So,
So, and where you circled, where you grow vegetables is the best soil according to the soil survey map. I have not visited your property.
no, I know.
But
what
those
you're
are
saying.
exactly, those are like the class 2 soils, which is good. Is where you've put, where you want that production. So I was curious to see because if that was an active field at some point.
It was
sounds like it
also
was.
because we didn't know until 3 years ago or so. We had some folks from Cornell come, Christian, I'll butcher his name, Christian M, let's say. It's Malsaski, I can't pronounce it, but they said we have pears. And we realized that we have about 140 pear trees. Some are fruiting, some are not. And so we started grafting them. About 3 years ago, we started grafting a lot of our apples and pears. So now we
And have
found out.
raspberries, and then we have 100 walnut trees, which I think I'm gonna
More than
make
100 walnuts.
more than 100 walnut trees from Dr. Lincoln, who's a previous owner. And I'm
They're black walnuts, so
Black
they're
walnuts.
about 25, 30 years old. And they fruit fully. And she has certain ideas what to do with it because I don't want to cut them.
But we are thinking of using.
She wants to use the fruit space. I've been using them very well. And one of the things we considered, which we don't want to do, is because I have no experience or anybody, animals. I don't think we'll be able to handle animals, at least at this point. So we haven't done that. But Cornell had advised that what we have, to your point, we have very good natural or native barley that grows, which is very good for the cattle. And one individual's response was, why don't you just get a bunch of cows and
Sheep.
sheep and just do that? We haven't done it.
I mean, it's a lot of, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Aaron,
But you're
to
right.
your point, I just pulled up on Parcel Viewer, that whole property is, except for one circle in
That's
the
right.
middle, is all either farmland of statewide importance or prime farmland.
Right.
But it stopped, interestingly enough, it stops kind of at the property line and all the front is residential, is not
Yeah.
in prime farmland.
Yeah, exactly.
On the slope.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's what's
everything.
along the river.
No, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's also, it's actually very up on the where houses are. And that red round circle that you mentioned, we call it Mars Landing, but it's basically
It
a
looks like
red
Mars.
iron rock field, red rock field.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's about
Right
3
there.
acres of, or 2 acres of red rocks, but
It's perfect.
it's
for-
it has extremely high nutritional value. So it's like shale and you can put it anywhere you want in soil mix and it has a lot of iron in it. So it
Does
works.
it dissolve then? Does it
Yeah,
go to mud?
it becomes-
It's a
it's very muddy.
very,
It
yeah,
becomes crumbly.
it's a
We've
very,
had
it's a
moss
soft
and-
shell. It's not a blue.
No, very soft. You
Very
can walk
soft.
on it and get crushed, but actually right here was a lot of it. We didn't know. And we realized within some time, the top layer would become really muddy and it just melts away.
And also,
It's
I
like
just,
clay.
it's very
Makes
interesting,
clay.
the floodplain
Yes,
line
exactly like clay.
follows your property line. The rail trail, which borders you, is totally in
Yeah.
floodplain. And your property line does not. So
Stops
it's-
right there,
So the
It's the
soil
drop-off.
type that
Yeah.
is along the rail trail
Yeah.
is the Unadilla.
I see.
That's what's in the floodplain.
Yep.
And that's what I farm on across the
interesting.
river from you guys.
Got it.
Oh,
And
Very
then the soil up here is out of it. So the Unadilla is usually in the floodplain.
Got it.
It's this
Define
right here.
unadilla, or you
Yes,
call it
please.
unadilla, I say unadilla.
Oh,
'cause
Unadilla
my-
is silt loam.
That's what I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
know, okay.
So that's there. And so that's in the floodplain. And then you've got, that's class 1 soil.
okay.
Yeah.
Then you've got the class 2 soils, which are still considered really good. I haven't tested your soil, I don't
You
know,
should come.
but it makes, it's an open field, it has those soils, it makes sense that some activity would have been going on.
There was, we found actually tillers and a lot of other equipment that was half buried in the ground.
Sure,
So
we're
we had-
restoring.
Mhm.
I want to use things that I can, but
I
tiller, I don't
wonder
want
if
to.
they planted alfalfa and mowed,
They did.
if someone
Yeah.
leased the ground at that time and they planted alfalfa, because
They
that
did.
takes a lot of nutrition.
Yeah, it sounds like it was used to grow high quality.
It
Okay.
was, so everywhere on
That's
the
worse. Yeah,
airstrip, if I
alfalfa,
do
yeah.
not mow, you get perfect cow feeding. These are
Within-
white flowers, I
within
forget what they
days.
call.
Clover.
That's right.
Clover.
Clover. And they're everywhere, and I can hear them in the blade when it goes.
Yeah.
But
Honeybees
sorry.
love it.
Yeah, I would say, why don't we,
Can I interrupt for a minute?
sure,
They're asking for AR3 and we've got, have a really good description.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the district intent for AR3 is residential agricultural, intended to recognize and preserve the high value agricultural lands of the town while allowing for low density residential development of compatible nature. And it's further intended to complement the New York State Ag District program and maintain full rights to farm within these areas.
So-
So,
Nice
I have
definition.
a couple questions.
Yeah. well,
and
that's
just
some-
one quick
yeah.
thing, so he's referenced Bert Samuelson a number of times, so
Oh,
for
yes.
those of you who don't know, Bert is, works for the planning department, and Bert's prime task of what he does for the planning department is works with the state ag district program. And he has become the planning department's sort of resident agricultural expert. So that was just a quick question for you. Would you eventually look to include this property in the ag district?
Yes.
A discussion to get some information, and then that would be next year. We can continue with
So
it.
Chris, why don't you go ahead? We'll just do a round robin of some questions and then we can kind of decide if whether we want to have you pursue the application. or-
Beautiful presentation. Thank you. My
Yes.
family living on Sages Loop for 15 years and have created an edible landscape using permaculture techniques. And so I'd love for you to come visit
Yeah.
sometime.
Yes, oh, great.
I'm trained as a master gardener. I'd love to look at your pears
Please,
and.
I'll tell you about the problems.
Okay, good. And I'm wondering if you're open to rail trail pedestrians coming onto your property.
I should be, we haven't discussed this actually, but I'll be very honest, we haven't thought about it. If it's in a way that doesn't disrupt what we're trying to do, and it actually helps people, because I'll the route she was going earlier and make it a little long-winded, because our friends have walked on the rail trail and a lot of other people, they have needed certain help at certain times, or just to sit down. So if that's the idea, we would be open to that. If what we would not like to do is
Full.
increase flow such that it disrupts either sides. We like to use rail trail as well, and I don't want to make rail trail the tourist attraction that it shouldn't be. If people need access, if we need, but actually, you asked that yesterday, 3 kids, including our son, they asked if this all happens, can we put a stand there and we'll sell ices and
Lemonade.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
you're right, the
Neil-
rail trail,
Neil
oh,
Ruby and-
boys, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
they just rescued a cat and they wanted to know if they can do
Kitten.
something. They wanted to know if they could do something on the rail trail. So we are open to that, actually. We just haven't thought much about it and we don't have much to say about that. I know somebody in New Paltz does it. Don't
The
remember.
Rail Trail Cafe,
Yes,
That's right.
we've
Right.
never visited, but
Brian Farmer.
okay, okay.
Someone mentioned that to us, actually.
Yeah, and in
Was
fact,
it-
for something like that, we wouldn't mind if somebody wants to, and this is me thinking, we wouldn't mind if somebody wants to do something there
park
and they manage
something
it and they maintain it, like a caboose. Is a caboose a right term?
Yeah, the end of the train.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
and just put it right there and it's rail trail. And you can have a coffee shop that's open from this time to this
Nice.
time, but it needs to be kept in a certain way. I would prefer not to, but I'm just using that as
Sure,
an
thank
example.
you. One more question. When I was a member of the Environmental Commission in town, we worked on a dark skies initiative.
Okay,
Will your lighting be downward cast?
yes.
All right, thank you.
I was going to show you
Believer
a
or
few
not.
slides. And if I didn't have them, she would put black curtains on them. So there's no
Okay, good.
way.
Our house is full.
But no, we don't, we like to look at the sky actually. So our son's birthday is coming tomorrow and we're having an argument whether we can get him a telescope or not. So light is definitely going to be down.
Definitely, because it has an impact on your physical body, especially with children. So that obviously is a huge issue in the cities. Some cities are managing it and trying to manage it, others obviously are not. So, and it also disrupts the patterns for animals and, just the well-being of so many creatures. So yes, we would definitely preserve the darkness of the sky so that people can see it.
Thank you.
Steve, any questions?
I do. One thing I was going to ask you that you may want to check on firstly, this pasture land could be from the Green Farm when they were farming. It sits along there. That would be now
Yes, which
Norman
one is it?
Green. It would be more toward going toward Accord. Would be after Kelders.
Yeah.
It's on the
Okay,
same
I'll
side.
check
It's another farm. It's Norman
right,
Green.
yeah.
And I wonder if they might have used some of your field
I'll check with
pasture
them.
and cut hay
Okay.
or planted even when the farm was running. Because it was the Green Farm and the person living there now is Norman Green, who's a descendant. And it was his brother that ran the farm. His brother has disabilities and they
Okay.
had his brother on the farm because that's what he knew to do. So he
Okay.
could run the farm.
Mhm.
And now Norman and his wife are living there. And now I think they could say what those fields might have been used for because
Yeah.
they're attached more toward them. I
I'm sure we could find out
believe.
some of that information too.
Right,
through-
but I
through
just-
Schoonmaker.
Yeah, but I just thought maybe.
No, that's very
That's
helpful.
helpful too.
And I like the idea of your willows being a horticulturalist. No, not to put them near your well or your
yes,
sewer.
septic,
Oh, yes.
yes, he has forbidden me to go anywhere near,
Okay, because they love water and they'll block every bit of your.
yes.
The flags that
pretty.
have planted that you can't go there.
Yes. it's
So
forbidden zones.
that's all I have. Any
No, that's very
ideas
helpful.
on, and I just wondered if they have farmed it. That was
No,
my,
that's a good.
I can let you know, in fact, to.
it doesn't matter if they have, I just thought maybe they could give you more history.
Exactly.
Well,
it
it'll also
is
help
always
us, to her
helpful
point, it'll also help us understand what did grow.
that
If
what
they have
that did
farmed
well.
previously, then we know what we can do.
I don't know
Exactly.
how far their land extended. They do
Okay.
bound Arrowwood, I would think.
Yeah,
It's
they're-
not quite exactly to Arrowwood,
I
but
think they're on the other side, of Kelders, right?
going toward Ackwood.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
because I know who cuts the hay there. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. who
Yeah,
cuts
this,
it
this
now. I
property
used to know.
is adjacent to, like you said, to Kelders.
Yes,
And
Arrowwood, Arrowhead. I
I
mean,
know
Yeah,
it was
Arrowhead.
confused.
No, I should know it as Arrowhead. It used to be Davis's and they called it Arrowhead
that's right.
Farm because they found it.
But that Kelder piece is the one that Chris just recently purchased from Davis's. So,
Yes,
Mhm.
It's an incredibly large, I mean, that swath of land is unbelievably, huge. I think it's.
I'm
really
just
nice.
not sure where,
Yes.
where Ames would have mowed or what they would have
Aaron?
used it for.
Do you have? any
I had one more
questions?
question just to, is your main intent agricultural, like to grow things and
Sell things.
sell things? Or,
Yes, I think so. That is our objective. I think, of course, what Plus have said to be, it has to be balanced because agriculture is such a financial and obviously it's a very consuming project. But we do have all that natural resources, and we have expertise in the family that I don't. Which is super helpful. One of the, we've been discussing for the last several months is, I've been, maybe doing like a tiny bit of it, using the land for a flower farm. Maybe no more than an acre, or so possibly, just to give it a test out. This year I did a little food test and they were okay, they did fairly well. So I think next year we'll see how much maybe we can cultivate and then cull that area and then try to do some more. That would be my baby.
yeah, that was my main, I know you have a lot, but it sounded like what you want is for it to be mainly agricultural and everything else is to support that.
So, 15 seconds, not even more. When we started growing anything last 4 years ago, the idea was to be able to feed ourselves, 2 other people, and 2 of our neighbors. And this year has a bigger crop than we can just grow. So she's actually came out providing a food pantry
Watermelons.
this weekend because
It
she
was
got
ridiculous.
these things from a farm called Long Season Farm.
That's me.
Yeah. And, okay, sorry, but, so she got your vegetables and we've been eating, her father is here and he was
Oh,
saying,
yes, he was
these are
raving
the best
about
eggplants I've had.
every day. Every day he's like, you have not eaten your eggplant. I said, yes, Dad, my son is sick. I haven't been eating.
But
And he was like, literally before I left, he's like, there's 3 eggplants left. I said, "Yeah, just roast them. Please.
But
Yeah.
the point is that, no, we want to do something that actually helps everybody change their mindset potentially about the things we do and the way we do them. I would like to earn a living,
Mhm.
but I do want to be able to do things that we believe are good. Hopefully we're right. But-
Sort of a balance. Look, it's like this, again, seeing, not in farming, but they've worked with many clients. It's a business that consumes a lot of different things. As I said, energy, full time, and your finances. So that's one of the things that, like Kelly's was saying, there has to be like sort of a balance because you just can't keep And with the change in the seasons and what's happening with climate change, you don't know what can happen. To be able to sustain sort of long-term plan and obviously not to go bankrupt, you have to have some sort of balance. And one of the things, I've been noticing with this younger generation of Gen Zs, as you call it, we had a young girl come in. Her mother's this wild, met her and she's like a wildly successful artist. And her daughter only wants to farm. And she's 17. She dresses like she's from the Little House on the Prairies and she and I got along very well. And so we said, next year, if things happen, why don't you consider like doing a trial run of your eventual one-day farm life, or your farm dream. But this could be a great way for you to manage it, figure out what grows well. And, I let her grow a section of the garden and, it's done incredibly well. She did a beautiful job. She had, instead of carrying iPads, when we saw her, she had 3 books she ran to go get from the car. And, these big, thick books. And so I said, she read it. I said, what plants do you have for seeds? And then she figured it out. So it was such a great, it was just so lovely that, it would be great to be able to also offer that, to have kids come over. Like, kids who are interested.
Mini incubator.
Like a
Yes,
mini
exactly.
incubator, make it really, sort of seamless. Obviously, I guess the benefit for us would, of course, we'd have some miniature expertise of these people who love doing what they're doing. But I think the nature therapy aspect of it is great, especially during this time of COVID. I've had the kids come over from my son's school and come over and just plant things in May. They planted close to everything. So I have like 5 feet square, like that should be bigger, and 100 watermelons happening, and 50, I mean, but it's like I said, this is like a little wonderful example of an incubator program. So, we're thinking of things that we had seen many years ago when we've gone our one and only honeymoon trip to Italy, the agriturismo, and they did so well. The government of Italy and a lot of European governments really promote that in order to keep the farmland as it is. So it doesn't become this suburban, chaotic mess of houses and malls and stores and this and that. So it
Well,
has
if
to
I
have that little
can,
balance.
I just want to, so one thing, Adam, did you have any other questions?
I'm good.
So, one thing
Thank you,
to
Doc.
mention is, it sounds like you've got a ton of ideas, but if you went into the Ag District program, there's a lot more, leeway is maybe the wrong word, but a lot more opportunities and less restrictions on you by being a part of the Ag District program. So one of the things you might want to consider is, before you branch out into all these ideas, they sound like many of them are long-term goals.
Yes,
Maybe the idea is to focus on the farm itself
yes.
and get that up and running, get into the Ag District program. Certainly, if you want the special events, move forward with that. But all these other ideas are very much
A lot of the
a
things.
concept.
That's right.
But once you get in, there were Kelders and Saunders Kill, they're prime examples. They're in the Ag District. They do multiple events, but they don't need permits for every single event because it's all considered part of the agritourism process.
No, I appreciate that. In fact, to your point.
And in many ways, it makes you a little easier. So.
Thank you. But you're right. We were at Mr. Keller's just this afternoon, and I was reading that they've been here for at least 200 years.
No more.
So a lot of,
1686.
I know, but well, yeah, bicentennial.
Yeah.
But everything that we're talking about will take a long time. But to your point, we do want to focus on agriculture because I think that's what can get us there. And we can involve a lot of things like having young students come in because they use technology, which if implemented on smaller scales and you can have a model, it can help a lot of other people. And but yes, some things are short-term, immediate, and certain longer years.
Well, I think right now for our purposes, if you start with, I gave you the application today, if you
Yes.
start with that, consider if you are going to, because as I explained to you about segmentation.
Yep.
If you are going to do other things that do require planning board approval, then we would have to review the state environmental quality review simultaneously.
Right.
If you're just going for the Ag District change, the zoning change, and you want to go into farming, you wouldn't need all those other reviews. You may or may not have Mr. Davis's call.
Got it.
But my suggestion would be is pick what you're going to do in the 5-year range or so
Right.
for now, The other ideas are great. You can always come back for something else. If you're gonna start it within a couple of years, then obviously ask now. But if you're gonna start it, it's your goal for 10 years on the road, we don't need to deal with
No,
all
fair
that at
point.
one time. So,
And we would like to start with agriculture,
yeah.
but marry that with certain events such that we support both.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Other things that we're talking about, we'll add as it becomes available. So seeking out to Cornell or those things, those make it easier.
Yeah.
But no, ag district is something I want to state since you asked, is a priority because Bert and Maureen both as well went in quite a bit of detail saying how you should think about that program. Because it also ties to the Ulster 2040, which has significant focus on agritourism.
Mhm.
And we talked about that. And again, we need to talk to people like
Well, everybody.
you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
It's helpful.
So, yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
I think given that a lot of what they're talking about is in our comprehensive plan and the nature of the soils and a lot of what you want to do is the intent of AR3. I think that we should move forward as a board with this.
Yeah. Somebody, you want to make that motion that we, do we need a motion to have them fill out? We don't really need a motion for them to
We're just saying,
move
we'll,
forward. We're just agreeing
wanna-
that we'd like them to pursue it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Have a motion
Okay,
because in the
If you
the
want to
first
make
thing
that
is whether
motion.
you. want it, So make a motion to
Okay.
consider it upon application.
so I'll make a motion to consider the request for zoning designation change
Second.
Upon application.
upon application.
Okay, second. I think we have a lot of discussion already, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
So
Yes, I do.
have at it and just, discuss it with Jerry, figure out if anything that you want to do is going to necessitate planning board approval now, because if that is, that will change the way we review it. So we just need to include all that. Chris, can I grab the one packet that had all everything in it?
This
Was
is,
it the unstable?
it's this,
The unstable.
the unstable.
Sorry. And if you, yeah, obviously this will be something as part of your presentation. I would imagine.
That will be the presentation and I sent that to you via email. Actually,
Oh, this one you sent?
I sent you later today. so
Oh, later
must not have
today.
seen it.
I didn't see it
Yeah.
yet.
That's
So
why I printed one copy at least.
Yeah.
We have it.
I will share this presentation with each of you by email. now. I
And
didn't realize
we'll
you
have
sent
certain updates as well with respect to parking and other lighting and noise. Other mitigation that we discussed, and we can put all that in one deck.
that. Yeah, that'll be
That-
more
yeah, that
planning
doesn't
board.
really
That
go-
doesn't really affect
Oh,
us.
got it, okay.
Yeah.
Then I think they
Yeah,
should.
we
be
don't
it.
need to see all that.
I mean, if
All
you're
right.
gonna do agritourism, they will need a site plan review at least.
So you'll need a
if I-
minimum of site plan. So you will have to go to the planning board for
That's fine.
some point for something.
No, we'll do that and
Whether it's your site plan. So,
got it. No, we'll do that. I think everything that we included is for the first category, which you can do basically. So it's
Mhm.
not going to require special use. We don't want to go there right now. And
And I think I told you the
Yep.
county application period
Yep.
is the month of March. So
that's right.
definitely be toward that, and next March is when you would apply.
No, we want to. We've been drafting for the last 3 years, so we want to get to a place where we can
And
understand.
Bert Samuelson is absolutely your key contact person on that.
Okay.
He has walked many people through the process. so.
No, he's been very good. He spent a good an hour and a half with us and gave us a lot of examples of people who. And we will, in fact, we'd love to talk to both of you guys too. So. And
Exactly.
any other suggestions, we welcome those.
I
So
just want you to know that 4-H is not just a southern thing. How many people here were, you? I thought you were 4-H.
I was not in for
Oh,
it,
my God, Mr.
I was
Chad,
not
you were
in
in 4-H,
4-H.
right? Yeah. That's 4-H.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. but there is a very
It used to
active
be
4-H
big.
program.
Is there
right?
still?
Oh, yeah, there
It used to
still
be
is.
really big.
Yeah, heifers and, oh yes, I remember that so well, so.
Now it's smaller animals. Now it's rabbits and things like that.
Oh.
Chickens.
We had hogs. and
Hogs.
birds.
I have
But
to
not-
say, we didn't do animals. We
Not
did
as much
sewing and.
Sewing and cooking.
Well, I did that too. I also did woodworking. I did like everything. It was.
There's in the
And-
busy bees and the happy helpers.
Okay, thank you very much.
no, thank
Appreciate
you.
your
guys.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And my
You too.
Italian friends made fun of me because I was
Um,
sewing and cooking.
Sewing and cooking.
And they
So
were doing
now-
horses and cats.
Moving on to comments, what I'd like to do is, we have our public hearing for the short-term rental on August 12th.
Right.
If we make any changes in the law, we have to wait 8 days before it could be adopted. We're still hoping to get it adopted and in place by September 1st. So if we want to make any changes, I wanted to discuss these comments tonight. We could make changes tonight. We could still then adopt it August 12th after the public hearing if we decide no further.
Just
I'm
make
not
sure
saying-
you have a special meeting that night as well, if you're gonna
Yes.
take them out.
Yes.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to schedule a special meeting that night for another reason anyway. But, so I wanted to walk through the comments. They are fairly short, and see if anybody had concerns about changes. Because then we can re-advertise the public hearing. We wouldn't need to re-advertise in the newspaper, right, Mary Lou? We could just notice that, or should we re-advertise?
When you
We noticed the public hearing.
did give the date when you continued the public hearing, or did you continue it without date?
No, we
Okay.
set the public hearing for August 12th and it's been advertised.
That's fine.
Okay. And we can just put the revised version up on the website of any
Right.
changes we
Yeah,
make
don't have
tonight.
to-
We don't have to re-advertise the public hearing. Okay. Let me just get it open here. You guys are kind of working. Now, I emailed everybody, but I don't know if anybody has it available to them. Not print the whole code. I only printed the changes so you can see them. Let's deal with the Ulster County Planning Board one first. There's a couple ways we could deal with that. We could just change the definition of owner occupied. Mary Lou, I defer to whatever you think is the best way to handle that. I think it makes sense. They want to say that if it is an LLC, a person who is the resident of the property, majority ownership.
But is that true of the LLC? The LLC determines who has a priority ownership, don't they already out of the box?
Right, but
That's
that's
what they.
what
that's
they're
what they say.
recommending.
You have to
Oh,
be
okay.
the
That's what they're
majority
saying. The
Oh,
person
okay.
who has the majority has
Has
to
to
be the
be-
person who's living
Hey.
there at home.
I like that a lot.
So the reason is they couldn't just sell 1% ownership to the resident and then the LLC owns 99%.
Right.
So they have to have like
You have to actually live there.
51%.
So
Yeah.
and it helps, even if there is a bunch of, people involved in it, there'd be one primary owner that would be the
Correct.
owner occupied.
And the county was very happy. So my question though, Mary. Handled.
I think what I was saying is when they set up the order for LLC, at that point, how it's divvied is done, and it wouldn't necessarily be based on how we would want it to be based. So, okay, so I'm going to set up B Haugen LLC
Yeah.
Mhm.
with, I'll use myself and my son. I'm going to maintain 51%. He's going to have 49.
Mhm.
He's going to live in the house. I'm not.
Then it wouldn't qualify.
Wouldn't
Then it wouldn't be
qualify.
occupied.
That's what I'm
So the
trying to
person
ask.
who is the
Yeah.
51% owner of the LLC must be the person who is living in the structure.
Gotcha. All right.
That's
So
what
in that
counts.
instance would not be.
Right,
Right.
that's what the county is
Applicable.
saying. And it's to avoid somebody just getting a small piece of the pie and saying, okay,
I understand
Bring it
their reasoning. I just wanted to see.
How's that gonna work with the existing LLCs and their structure?
Yeah.
If they don't qualify, they don't qualify.
if they don't qualify, it's not owner occupied, and they would have to
Okay.
apply as non-owner occupied.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
that, you're at least applying it equally.
So they're not gonna get their grandfathering.
Well, that's our call. We can decide how to handle it. We either define, and that's why I'm asking, that's why I'm throwing this out. There's a lot of ways we can handle this. We can handle it only for new applications. We could
there you
grandfather
go.
everybody in previously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
As
somebody's
long
not
as-
gonna
It's
dissolve
tough
their,
for people who have been.
Right, they're not gonna
Airbnb
refile
for
their
years
paperwork.
Yeah.
And did the proper thing with the county.
That's what I'm
And now we
saying.
go,
And it's a
sorry, you only
50-50
pay 9%,
yeah, it's a 50-50 split and it does
Yeah, I
qualify.
would say.
Yeah.
So this is for new applications going
Yes.
forward. Okay.
Do we have to say that?
And I
Um,
think that you might want to put that rather than in a definition, seeing as it's only gonna be for options. I
Yeah.
think you put it right in the body.
Of the
where you
new,
talk
Well, I'm trying to find the section here.
Just need to know all the going. Jeez.
Hope till next week, then we couldn't adopt it on the 12th. We would have to have another
Say
meeting.
that again?
If we made these change, talked about these changes and didn't actually adopt the changes until next
You don't have to
Thursday,
adopt the changes.
we don't have to
No.
do changes?
No, you can just,
Because we haven't had the public
But
hearing.
they have 8 days before they can vote on them, right?
right, but you don't adopt them before you
Okay,
have them.
but so,
For the 8 days.
but here's where I was headed in my, I wasn't conveying it very well. If we don't show these changes because everybody doesn't have vote in front of them tonight. If we don't show these changes until next Thursday, that's the 5th. Then we can't vote on it the night of the 12th
Right,
with those
but
changes.
but you can just discuss it, agree to the changes. You can make them right on your copy right now and
Okay,
email them to everybody. tonight.
okay.
Or
Oh, as soon as
Or
the
email
changes,
them.
as soon as the changes are. sent to
are sent
everybody,
to us,
that-
then it's
that's-
8 days.
That's the same
Okay.
as putting it on their desk.
Right,
laying
that's,
it on
that's
their
what,
desk.
that's how
Good.
we're laying it on their desk these
Okay.
days.
Thank you.
Because they changed the
Okay.
state law to allow it to be done by computer.
thank you,
Okay.
that
Because it
works.
just makes,
So
and you don't.
I'm
have
just
to-
trying to figure where the best place to make this change is.
You think that's in the application?
No, it wouldn't be
In
the
new,
application,
it has
because
to be in.
the
new
application
something.
is the application. It's
Yeah.
not standards of application. It would have to
Ownership.
be,
It's gonna be
New.
under ownership of properties.
yeah, except that's not just for new. Ownership of properties
No, but
is
you
for
can
all.
put in there
Oh,
for a subsection that says new
got it. Ownership of property. So I'll add a
properties
section
that are not
4.
grandfathered per section, blah, blah, blah.
Not grand.
Must meet the following criteria. And
They also say, maybe this is in the definitions we can do, that primary residence may further be defined in the proposed zoning statute by the number of days, majority of the year, voter registration, tax reporting, et cetera.
Well, that's from the, planning board comments, right? Oh,
That's
okay.
the last
Ulster County
sentence.
Planning
of
Board.
it.
Yeah, well, we're saying, we did include that in our definition. We say primary is 180 days. We've already stated that. Owner occupied.
Right, so you're not saying primary.
Oh, no,
you're saying-
I'm sorry, primary residence. A
Okay.
person's domicile where they usually live in the town of Rochester, whether on a full-time or part-time basis, for at least 180 days in the calendar year, typically a house including any habitable accessory structures on the same property. This includes secondary dwelling units located on the same parcel.
And I think you're okay because you have the word "mill" in there.
Yeah.
These things that they have put in, they established domicile.
Well, and we already
Whatever.
say 180 days a year.
Right, which is not 51.
I don't want to really get into tax reporting and registration.
By saying domicile, that's if anyone ever challenges it, that's what you look at.
Okay,
Say-
Okay.
The
Domicile.
definition.
So
Okay.
what a domicile is where you intend to be your actual.
should we define
No,
domicile?
because New York courts
New
have
York
de-
did define it.
domicile
Okay,
many,
For
many
voting,
times.
it's where you plan to
It could be
return.
where your driver's license address is, where, yeah, what you use as your address for your tax return.
but there's a lot of criteria.
There's tons of things out there that
Okay.
can help you, determine.
Okay,
I don't think you need to put that in.
okay. So then ownership of properties, we're gonna do a section 4. Actually, we should include, why don't we just include that in section 2? It says a general partnership, limited liability partnership, or a limited liability company must disclose names of all partners and or members when applying. There, we could add a sentence to be owner occupied, a
Majority.
The
ownership.
majority partnership must be the primary, must have 51, greater than 51%. And in the grandfathering section, we can include that the exception. Because this 51% is going to be for all cases, except we're gonna give an exception to the grandfathering. Because otherwise, I think if we start talking about the grandfathering within the ownership of properties, and then we have another section about grandfathering, I think it gets confusing.
That is fine.
So what I would propose is right after, in the middle, where we say, before we say any changes, we just say, actually, we can make the any changes as its own standalone section too. It doesn't have to just be about LLCs.
Should be about LLC, so.
But the changes, if you sell the property, it's a change too. So whether it's an LLC or not, although if you sell the property, you lose the ability to do this.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't go with the land.
That's why, yeah, because it's a permit. It's not a.
It's not a variance,
Right. Or an approval,
an approval of change
Right.
by any board.
a yearly permit.
It's a yearly or biennial, as the
Right.
case may be.
All right, so what section are you looking at?
I'm at, which is the fourth page. It says a general partnership, limited liability, or limited liability company must disclose names of all partners and or members when applying. To be, and then I would say to be classified as owner occupied, the person residing
Must carry 51%
must be 51 greater,
of the LLC.
LLC or the partnership?
right, of the LLC or partnership. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you gonna put that word domicile?
Well, I was thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, where are you gonna put that?
It's already in, it's in the
Oh,
definition.
It's in the
It's in
definition.
the
Okay,
definition of
good.
prime residence.
Good,
No, it's
good,
already,
good, good. I
we
didn't know,
use that on
we don't
purpose.
have to restate it.
no, we
then.
use that
Okay,
on purpose.
okay.
So
My
we are saying
misunderstanding. I thought we
uh,
had to reuse it.
to be classified as owner occupied. Lost it in my head. To be classified as owner occupied, a
Primary residence.
primary
Primary
resident, thank you. Or say the primary
The
resident, not a.
Okay, the,
Must,
meet the
Uh,
criteria of,
must be,
A 51%
Majority
must
ownership.
be
owner.
majority partner. I don't know, I wrote everything down. That's all.
1% or greater majority partner of the general partnership or limited liability.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of the short term rental.
Yeah, I'll list the three that we allow. Must be general partnership, limited liability partnership, or limited liability company.
Don't forget the 51%.
No, that's in there.
Good,
You need it back to us after.
yeah.
Okay, to be classified as owner occupied, the primary resident must be 51% or greater majority partner of the general partnership, limited liability partnership, or limited liability company.
Okay, do they, who, I don't think you want to say the primary resident, because who's a primary resident if you're all living there?
Mhm.
I would say, I
Okay,
kind of reverse that, start with an individual having a 51% interest in the three categories must reside at the property.
To be classified as owner occupied.
Yes.
Okay,
Gotcha.
and,
And you can send it to us. And
yep,
I
an
can change
individual,
it before
yep,
in advance of 8 days from,
yep, an individual, say it again, Mary Lou.
I'm sorry, it's gone.
Individual
Check the tape.
must be.
An individual must be 51% or greater majority partner of the general partnership, limited liability partnership, or limited liability company to be classified
No.
as.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
It's you start with a 51%.
Well, that's what I did.
Individual must.
Individual must be a 51% or greater majority partner.
No,
Okay. Well, that's why I lost what you said, because.
yeah. Okay, read it to me again, how you have it.
An individual must be a 51% or
Well,
greater.
let's do this. Instead of doing this a million times, you guys all agree to the substance of the change
Yes.
Yeah.
and the language outside of here, because you're gonna have to send everything out anyway. Unless
Okay.
you want to,
Okay,
right?
we can do
I only
that.
wrote it 2 ways, so it doesn't matter.
We
I
can
was
do
trying
that.
to
Right,
track it.
rather than
Yep.
That's
here and talk about it for
I
15
trust
minutes
these
till we
guys, you
get
gotta
it
figure
Let
right.
me
out the-
just,
Oh,
let me
yeah.
just notate this
Without me.
somehow.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
it.
well, I was just taking
H2, yeah.
in its
No.
H2.
Rewrite
Okay, cool. That's easy.
for 51%.
Are you going tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay.
I want this done.
Yep.
I don't have time next week. That's why I want
Yeah, no,
to do
that's
it tonight.
Yep.
Okay,
Or you and I can do it after this meeting, that's fine. but I
Okay.
just think it's silly to.
no, that's fine. That's fine. So then now moving to the local planning boards, they, 1AC, they just made a straightforward presentation. I don't necessarily have a great feeling one way or the other.
Oh,
Be
that
located
they're,
in
they like
parcel.
reworded.
They say to apply for a permit and parcel must contain a residential dwelling. We say it must be located on the parcel. It's,
6 of one, half
Except
dozen
it
the
doesn't-
other.
doesn't matter to me, but if you want to
No.
change it, we'll change it. If you can leave it, if not, we'll leave it.
I don't care.
It doesn't matter one way or the other.
One less line.
Well, it's easy enough to change.
If you want to use their. if you
Their
want-
language is a little bit cleaner.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, I agree with you.
We'll just make this change.
Okay.
To apply for a permit.
Just want to make a note so I go look.
Residential.
Oh, can make this even easier.
I think we could have 6 people, listen, 6 people will come up with 6
Yeah.
different things,
And
or 7 as the case may be.
was in the carpet business. The worst thing was having
Okay, I'm gonna make
office
the
staff
note
pick a
and
color.
correct later because.
the owner would say
I-
whatever they
It was
want.
an easier way to
And
do it.
that's like,
than how I
yeah,
did it,
they're
but-
never gonna get this
Um,
done. Just pick a color. I like this one. I like this one.
I think it should say resident, should it say residential dwelling unit though? Because we define dwelling unit.
If you're using dwelling unit,
We
then
should
it should be
use, we should say
consistent.
dwelling unit. So I'm just gonna make the note here on theirs. Residential dwelling, add the word unit, but
Unit,
I agree
yeah.
with their change.
Yeah, it's got to be consistent.
Then the next part, they talk about. I'm not sure what they're really saying. The next is not really, it's more just it's their opinion of how to make a change, so. Saying everyone grandfathered or not gets 2 units. We are allowing. I think we are allowing.
You can have up to
One-
2.
One owner and one non-owner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't have an owner occupied can have two,
Right,
but someone that doesn't have an owner occupied can't.
right. So they're saying, so this is their proposal, that everyone, whether it's grandfathered or not, can get 2 units. They're saying keep a cap on the total units as a percentage of total housing, both owner occupied and non-owner occupied. We are saying that owner occupied, there is no cap, non-owner occupied, there is. They're saying add a definition of owner occupied and verification to reflect true full-time residents of the town and not favor 2-home vacation as rental homes. I think that's what we're hearing though, a lot of the public is that these are second homes that they want to be able to rent out when they're not here. And quite frankly, they're not going to rent them out as long-term rentals, so they're just going to sit vacant. So I don't see the advantage of that one. That's
Are
just
they
my
afraid that
opinion.
someone's gonna have 3? That's what I'm looking
Um,
at, the above.
Possibly,
Any entity
Yeah.
managing 3 or more is managing a commercial enterprise is what they put forward, right?
where, are you reading on to the next?
No, where am I? The same one?
Yeah,
I'm
we're
still on the
still-
I'm
front
sorry.
page, yeah.
They made some bullet points about
Yeah,
grandfathering
Okay,
and,
I don't care about that.
I'm like, same thing, again, we, the.
Oh, it's all one comment, now I see.
Yeah, it rolls.
Yeah.
Does it not roll? It does roll.
Yeah, so we're saying grandfathered units which exceed shall be considered non-conforming and be continue. They're kind of more agreeing with the county. The county said that non-conforming units should eventually be phased out.
Right.
And that's a significant change if we're gonna make that. I thought we all sort of agreed that the people who have invested in this already, we were gonna let them
Right, I
continue.
mean, why
Yeah.
would you phase it out? You're gonna let you have it. for
Well,
a
the
couple
county,
years?
opinion is it phases out over time, so they, and other towns have done this, not just the county. But that's their opinion is that when it's phased out over time and it's the basis of conforming uses eventually extinguish themselves and move into.
Well, they extinguish themselves when they don't use it.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Or when they sell the
it'll,
property.
yeah,
Right.
it'll sunset itself over time.
They'll
without-
sunset it when they sell the property.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or when
Just-
they don't reapply for a permit for whatever reason,
Right.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
in order to keep your grandfather, you still have to reapply for a
Right.
permit.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
They're questioning 140-26A T, general permit regulation 4, that is an
No,
owner.
they're saying K5 is their question.
You're right, but I moved down to the
Okay.
second paragraph.
Keep flying through this. I like your style.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well,
you know,
well, I
I think
just
we've
wanted
done a
us
good
to-
job.
But I just wanted us to get into a consensus of the last one. I don't necessarily agree with their thinking, but I'm not saying, I'm just one person.
No, I felt strongly about that too. And again, talking to these folks, this isn't a little investment they made. I mean, no matter what, I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that they put up on this, and they were allowed to do it at the time. And again, being able to continue on, but again, under, the permitting, eventually they'll sell property, eventually they'll pass away, eventually they won't renew the permit, eventually these grandfathered ones won't be here because they can't be transferred. I honestly don't want to get into reconfiguring.
Well, and then now be moving where they're
Yeah.
saying the owner or local, manager, how do they respond if they have 3 or more? Well, they're not gonna have 3 or more.
If they
Yeah.
had simultaneous problems, they're doing
Yeah, but I don't think.
perfect storm, if you
That's-
will.
Yeah, I don't
They're
think we
looking
can
at it
predict
like,
worst case scenario. You can't write a law for worst case scenario.
Especially one that's.
that's what they're
So-
doing, is
Okay.
that's the
So
question they're
unlikely.
asking.
Yeah.
No.
I just don't think it's a realistic
Okay,
stipulation.
But when we actually are in the grandfathering provision now, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Were you not gonna add something here about the county comment that
Yeah, so let's just make a note though, because one
But you
hinges
know
off
what?
the other.
I just think we put it in the other one?
in the first one,
Yep,
Okay, well, you and I
there's the
should,
language.
wait, though, you
Yeah.
gotta say it so I
No,
can
I have
write
written down.
it.
I
Okay,
have
Oh,
it
this
written
time
down
she
to
wrote.
Give you after,
okay. you
but
can
seeing
give it
as
to me
we're in
after.
this section anyway, let's get it all right at once. So for the section above, I put for a non-grandfathered general partnership limited liability partnership or limited liability company to qualify. And this is at the end of that paragraph.
This is in the ownership
As
section.
an owner of a property, a resident of the property must have at least 51% ownership in the partnership, limited liability partnership or limited liability company. And we just put non-grandfathered. And that covers both sections. How does that sound to you guys? And you just add it on. What was the section before H?
Mhm.
Go back to
Yeah,
H.
it's H2. It's, well,
Yeah.
that's the part on limited liability, so.
Yeah, so we.
Which
put
is
it-
where
we
it's the
can just
appropriate place to
add
put
this
it.
To the end of
Yeah,
H2.
yeah.
That's on this one.
So in the grandfathered, you don't think we need to address that? You're saying for non-grandfathered,
If we
and
put for
that-
non-grandfathered in here,
okay,
we just saved a paragraph.
yeah,
Let's just see.
that's fine with me as long as, we don't get the, oh, well, you didn't say it, so it's not true,
If
so.
you want, you can say non-grandfathered pursuant to,
Okay,
non-grandfathered.
yeah, we'll just reference it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
Where you at, Mike?
Going.
I think the
Wow.
final question,
so,
the final question in that section, isn't that a separate law we want to create?
that's correct, and we have already stated that, I believe in the grandfathering, I will double check, but I believe in the grandfathering, we say that you must meet the criteria, and those do not meet the criteria, so in order to be, you have to, now, maybe we didn't say it clearly enough, because clearly our planning board didn't understand that. But we did do say somewhere in the code that they're not
Other
allowed.
units which exceed H3 of this code shall be considered non-conforming. And be allowed to continue.
Do we have
Okay,
to
nope, so
list,
that's
maybe
not
we
it.
have to list these.
No,
so
H3
that it's
is,
excluded.
so the H3 is if you own, no owner entity comprised of similar individuals may hold for greater than 2 properties, one owner occupied, and one non-owner occupied. So the exceeding the H3 is for people who
Right,
currently
yeah,
own
no,
more
I-
than 3.
Yeah, just say, no, it's
yeah,
not that.
no.
This is what we say. To qualify for grandfathering of existing use, a property owner shall meet the standards and produce documentation of compliance of A, B, and C below. Any property owners who fail to produce such documentation shall be required to file and be considered a new operating short-term transient
Right, but A,
rental.
B, and C below.
And then it's provide an Ulster County Department of Finance certificate of authority, provide proof of operation, have submitted a complete application, be subject to annual fire and
So
inspection.
it doesn't say anything about the.
No, but the application,
A complete and,
Mhm.
Do you,
the application, it sets the,
wait,
I mean, we can add something in there about it.
So what do we have on what's included in the?
do you want to list what they say, tents, yurts, tiny
Well-
houses, and make it clearer?
Well, we did that though already where we say they are not allowed.
Okay, well, that's
That's previous.
good. That's fine
Back
then,
to
as long as we've said it.
prohibitions, letter E. Oh, wait, it's not there. That's part of it, but where it is prohibited.
I
know
just
we
wondered
stated
if they're
somewhere.
asking us to spell it out plainer or something.
Well, we already
Are you with
do,
us?
but
You
they're
told,
asking
like,
us to
the
put it in this
Hammers are looking a little
place.
tired,
Getting a little cloudy.
yeah, I see that, I can
Yeah.
see. Be careful going home, man.
It's mostly downhill.
uh,
Put it neutral.
It's not a horse. It's a horseless carriage.
It's under general permit regulations.
right,
Okay,
Letter T.
does it spell it?
No person or person shall be housed separately and or apart from the approved dwelling unit in any temporary structure, tent, trailer, camper, lean-to, recreational vehicle, tiny house, boat, or non-dwelling unit.
Perfect,
Already in
Right, so
T.
her- right,
Perfect.
Their concern is just about grandfathering. The
I see where it
grandfathering
is,
says you
yeah.
have to Do A, B, and C, which includes the application. The application specifically says none of.
The
this.
general permit regulations apply
Yep.
to no matter what, whether you're grandfathered or not, you still need a permit.
Right,
So we could add,
In the
we just add in,
C. and
Put it again.
general.
no, we don't have to put it again. We just have to add in the ABC.
Yeah,
We add the word, have submitted a complete application, be subject to section T and an annual fire and safety inspection.
yeah,
Okay,
yes.
and that just,
Yeah, or you can add a D that just says only dwelling units are grandfathered.
Well, I think we want everything in the
We want
general
everything in
permit
section T,
regulations. Like we
general
want
permit.
we want everything that we want in terms of health, safety, welfare to apply.
right.
And that's in the
Right.
general permit
Okay.
regulations.
So have submitted a complete application in accordance with section T of this code. Because that is the general permit regulations. Or we can just say, we could even include the word general, so.
Yep.
Grandfathered units, have submitted a complete application and be subject to all general permit regulations, section T of this
Okay,
code, and an
alright.
annual fire and safety inspection. Don't have to repeat it all.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yep, that's good.
you're bringing it
That's
back.
good,
That's
because-
good.
Yeah,
Section T spells it out. I'm smiling at you, Adam. know
I see you got
can't
twinkling eyes.
tell.
section T. What's it called there in general permit
regulation.
regulations?
With an S.
Okay.
Yep.
So that
Great.
covers that.
It does, yeah.
And then was that the end of? No. They don't feel that the cap, they like the percentage. They say between the 1% and 3%. We took it out because we wanted to allow ourselves the flexibility of more or less.
Yeah,
if we
we
thought.
got discussed that. a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That was
and
not without
No.
thought.
we have the flexibility at the organizational meeting.
yeah, and they also said that, you know,
You
they're
could say
proposing
0.
9 months or a year of occupancy instead of 108 days. I think it's getting a little too,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you had snowbirds.
And didn't the 180 days come down from the county anyway?
no.
Well, I think we.
180 days was our decision.
Because we discussed the 3/4 also. We did discuss the higher number as a board, and I think
180 being a little more
we,
than half.
yeah, we came down.
Now they are saying, how is that
A
verified?
little less.
That's really a code enforcement officer question, really.
Yeah, and you know. it's
They
gonna
enforce
come
the
down
law.
to- Right, if a neighbor says,
Yeah.
why do they're not even there for 9.
Are
years.
we,
They come here
are
for
we
summer.
going to write the application, or just
I think-
is
I think-
ultimately does the code enforcement office?
I
also
think he should
authority?
work with
I
them
think
Yeah,
it
and
is.
write
Because
the
Right.
application.
they can have the flexibility then, since we have the word domicile in that definition, they could decide on that application what they want, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be your application with Jerry's input, with
Okay.
code enforcement's input.
Yeah, so, and then number 3, the code enforcement office collects the fee, just like they do every other permit fee, and how they manage and track it, yes, we're working on software. How they do it is up to them. They're already doing it for other annual fees that they charge, and because they all come due, that's the reason we made them all come due the same time.
Right.
So I think it's a operational question.
Yeah,
It
they'll
has
write a
no,
letter.
doesn't really, shouldn't be part
Like
of
they
the
do
law.
for everything else, yeah.
They're talking about waste and, and bears and things. Whether it's a short-term rental or it's a home, those issues are the same. So I don't think we should make more strict
Right, it's
regulations
a short-term rental.
for
It's
a short-term rental unless we did it townwide for
I'm-
everybody.
I'm gonna go backwards on you this time, if you
Okay.
don't mind. Maybe this ties into what you asked. If we are asking or using the word domicile, can we ask them for a notarized affidavit? Mary Lou?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in the law, but it's something, it's,
It's
On the
code
application,
enforcement's- Yeah. we
Right.
could. It's the code enforcement
I
officer's
think-
opinion of what is proof.
The reason I ask this is because if it's notarized, it gives it a little more teeth.
Mhm.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I know it's true.
well, I
I'm
mean,
asking.
if you,
We could make the whole
Swear to it.
application be notarized. So all our
Yeah,
building
we-
permit applications
could
used
do
to be notarized.
I-
We backed away from that.
There you
I'm
go.
sorry, Kate, don't hate me, but I just think it gives it a little more.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, it makes that person's
Teeth.
signature
Makes them think maybe.
well, it's certainly on the enforcement end. If they lied on their application, it gives us a little more
That's
power. of
where I'm
enforcement.
coming from.
Yeah.
Kate, I didn't mean that for you for extra work. I meant it from the legality standpoint, and I don't know where you'd want to put the application process or where.
I don't think you need to.
Oh, you're just gonna allow it at
When
the
we
end,
make
the application.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I would like to see that because it gives it a little more. chutzpah. Thanks.
And, you know.
The
a little
garbage
late on
stuff,
your
I mean,
pickup
I
there.
just don't
We
think
have
the
one
issue,
right now about
Yeah.
garbage.
yeah.
In the, well, yeah, I think that also, I would say that that was one of the, before, when our public, we had the one public hearing where we heard from a lot of residents who've been negatively impacted
Mhm.
short-term
Mhm.
rentals, and a lot of that was garbage.
Agreed.
So
But
I
I'm
think,
not sure we can characterize blame the STR for all the garbage in the
You know,
town of Rochester.
I think what it comes down to is if the STRs, if the people are leaving and there's
Garbage.
garbage there, nobody's then coming and bringing it to the dumpster,
Supposing
having a
It's
hauler,
missed the
Mhm.
cycle
then
for
they
waste management.
report to the code enforcement officer, and if these people are in
Who's over
violation,
there?
they're not gonna get renewed,
Yep.
or they're gonna get
Right.
their permit
And
taken.
there's already other laws that handle this.
Right, we have laws on that.
And most house rules spell out what to do with garbage.
Right.
that I've
right, yeah,
seen.
K,
Yeah.
garbage removal, the applicant shall state how garbage is to be removed from the property. The
Yes,
applicant is
that's part
responsible
of
for
the
all
application.
refuge and garbage removal. The applicant shall be responsible for either contracting with a refuge company or the owner or property manager shall remove the garbage on a weekly basis.
So that fixes it right there. We put the onus right on the owner of
Yeah.
the property.
Yes.
So if
I
there's
mean-
garbage all over the place, it goes right
And
back.
Some
we know where
towns,
it's
some
gonna be.
towns have a law that you can't put your garbage out by the road before a certain time for pickup, prior to pickup, but
Yeah, I think so.
I'll be honest, if we were to do that, I would do that across the board. I wouldn't
Yeah.
just do it on short term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great, because actually, that's been
I
happening
think-
on my road.
Yeah, it is
Is,
because there's a lot of
people are-
animals.
They're leaving
We
the
can
garbage cans
also,
out for
Kate
several
just
days.
pointed out, we're gonna talk about the no littering law,
Yeah.
although I don't know if we'll do tonight. So,
Yeah.
I like
think-
that
I think it's
idea of
already
addressing
somewhat
it.
addressed
Yeah.
rather than singling out just short term.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
It's a different
be doing that.
issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's applicable
But it
everywhere.
is an issue.
It is
Yes.
an issue.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not an issue. I just think it's not just a short term.
No, correct. Agreed.
Exterior advertising signs, I think we were saying it's not, we made it pretty 12 square feet. It's more just a name on the side of the building, whether.
Or a
it's,
little
you know,
sign in the
It's
front.
a little
not a-
sign with a, somebody made a cute little name for
Yeah.
their short-term rental.
Yeah, not a 4
I
by 4
don't
or
think,
4 by 8
we're
sign.
talking,
No neon.
it's a 3 by, it's not a 4 by 8, it's 3 by 4 by 6.
Yeah, I
It's
know, but
pretty
I'm saying,
small.
like I
Yeah.
say, the one I passed
Yeah.
upstate that says in big letters,
I
rent me.
I
You know,
think
it's
it's,
like,
I think it's kind of a non-issue
yeah,
personally. And then, so D, we've already just talked about. F, I don't care if we include the shall be posted. It's okay with me.
Mhm.
And so
Didn't
The
say-
6F, the ones they recommend, it seemed to make sense. It's just extra words.
Didn't we say they can't use a stove, a fireplace?
No, we're
No,
saying
we
the
said-
owner has to say if
Correct.
they
How to
can or
use it.
can't.
Yeah.
Okay,
But if the owner says they have to post the rules, so we say right there, if allowed by the property owner, they have to post the instructions.
okay.
We're not saying they can't. I don't think we want to go to tell them if there's a fire. There's no way on it.
Yeah.
You know, unless Terry's gonna drive around and look for smoke and
Mhm.
have an iPad that says, nope, there's not
Gotcha.
supposed to see any there.
We also thought that would come under their insurance, correct?
Okay.
I thought that was part of that discussion as well.
What's that?
Wasn't that part of their insurance?
What do you mean?
The
who's
owner's
insurance?
insurance.
Oh, yeah, we're not getting into insurance.
No, that's
at
what I'm
all.
saying,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in the case of these
Yeah.
fireplaces.
For parking, we do require a map. Right, 6I.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
We do.
It's in the application.
It's in the application, yep. The no street parking is allowed at any time, every planning board decision,
Yeah.
and it's because when I took over the planning board, it was put in every decision prior, and so
Yeah, but you can't really tell people they can't.
no.
Well, if they don't want to be moved with a plow.
Yeah. This should not restrict access to 50 vehicles. I don't think we. Our shared driveways, private roads addressed for not allowed, assuring free access to the homes, not STR. That's a private deal between them if it's a shared driveway or a
Right.
private road because it's private land.
Yep.
If it's an enforcement issue between themselves.
Mhm.
If it's a civil action. Even if they did make a complaint to us, there's not a thing we can do about it. Should a manner in which to register complaints be added, such as copying section B complaints into the house rules? I don't think those complaints are really for the occupants. I think those complaints are
For the outside owner,
for the
the
outside.
outside or.
Are
the
just
side people.
suggesting that we add like a J that says,
No, they're saying,
neighbors have a complaint process or, right? Isn't it just like a warning?
I think looking at it more like reporting an owner
Oh.
in the event that it's not as safe as it be, or something like
got
that.
it.
That's
Got
But I
it,
think
got it,
that's an
got it.
Airbnb self.
Yeah, but isn't it, and that's what everybody told us, is I'm a diamond member, I'm an elite member, I
Yeah.
do everything by the book, and if
If
I
I
don't, then
don't.
Yeah, that's,
Well-
and that's, if it's,
If,
I don't think we should get into monitoring if they're
No.
advertising properly, you know what I mean? If they advertise it I think we're gonna open up a whole can of worms and we're
I
gonna
think
get a
if you
bunch of
put that
phone
in, they're
calls.
gonna
We said-
complain because a light bulb was out.
we
Yeah.
said safe.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
said safe.
we're only dealing with health and safety.
Right, we don't want people calling the
And
code enforcement
saying-
office
Or,
complaining,
and
I had-
saying
we-
they
but,
didn't give me back my deposit,
Yeah.
or they didn't, you
right,
know.
but we
the kind of
doing
thing
the
you'll get.
safety inspection, so anything, I,
We had people who weren't used to the country who complained for 3 days straight that there's spiders around here. And then they complained to Airbnb, they wanted all their money back. And then Airbnb found that she complains everywhere she goes, and the complaint was denied.
the crickets are too loud.
Yes.
Oh, and
Okay.
Katie
So-
did just started.
So the non-owner occupied, they're saying it's confusing. I'll let you guys read what they said. I don't think it's saying what they're saying.
I think you might want to change the first and that they have in there to an or.
Or the owner's not present.
Present in the building, or is, well, no, that's not really true, because no, you don't want nor. I take that back. Because that would be anybody who's like a sober,
Yeah,
they might be a.
No,
primary
you don't want to do an
residence,
or
right, you
because
don't
that,
want
that
or.
makes, you don't want owner occupiers if they're
Yep.
there one day while somebody's there.
Yeah.
I actually think
You can leave this as a rental where the owner-
maybe we don't even need the rest of that. We just say an STR is not the primary residence for greater than 180 days in the
Right,
calendar
and
year.
just delete the rest of the
Because that's- yes,
sentence. Yeah,
If it's over 180,
right, because it doesn't matter there or not. I think we were confusing ourselves by
Yeah,
including that.
Yeah.
Because they could live there 180 days a year and at the same time, or 150 days a year and at the same time operate an STR and not live for the rest of the year and it would still be.
yep. I
not
think-
under-
Yeah,
do we
but,
we
but
have a
but what
definition of
about-
owner occupied, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
So why do we need one of non-owner occupied? It would be something that is not owner occupied, right?
We
Well-
say, we distinguish between them in the
But,
section.
but if it's not owner occupied,
Then
there's
it's
only
not.
one other thing it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do we really need to define it?
well, why don't we just say not the primary residence of the owner for at least 180 days in the calendar year?
Then somebody say, wait a second. Not my primary, I don't know.
Oh,
I just don't know why you need it if you.
I see.
we only need it because we use the term an awful lot, and I think if you
Are we
don't
trying
define
to
it,
clarify?
if you
Yeah.
don't define it, then
Then
it's left
define
for
it
a lot of
as-
interpretation.
Then define it as an STR that does not qualify as an owner
Owner occupied.
occupied.
Okay, great.
Ah, nice.
Yeah,
Legalese.
There you go. You're good at this.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks. Thank you.
SDR unit
I'm gonna look
that
into getting a
does
license.
not qualify
You know, you could
as
charge.
owner
Hang out in Shingle.
occupied.
Well, you know, there is no sign.
Okay,
Never mind.
good enough.
Oh,
Now,
I don't want.
rented in part, they bring up adults only or adults and kids. I'll be honest, I never thought. of
Oh,
that.
the two or less,
Yeah.
yeah.
Two or less STR adult guests.
Yeah, I think. Well, this is confused. It'd have to be like the qualifying, whatever the guest is for whatever they're. Like I know on some of the platforms, I don't think. How does it work?
I don't
for
think we
fire
have to
and
worry about what
safety?
the platforms say.
Like, how does it work for code? Like. For,
Are you saying like the
I don't
booking?
is
think
there
there's any
like, if it's a
definition.
bedroom, can you have two people sleeping in?
There is no code.
I didn't think so.
There's no
either.
occupancy for a bedroom. There's whether it can be a bedroom or not, but if you put 5 kids in there, that's kind of on your own.
I have to say, I do not know.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you need a certain amount of square footage to be a bedroom.
Yeah.
Right, but it, yeah, it
Well,
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
define how many people
Because
are
like
gonna be in that
babies,
bedroom.
I think should be from the, like,
Well, and
That's gonna open a can of
it
worms.
brings up the
That's
point though.
getting deep.
When we
Need
say,
a dresser drawer for the baby.
Yeah.
we say 2 or less, if
Dresser drawer.
you have a couple and they had 2 kids and they were all staying in the same room, that wouldn't qualify with this. So I think we just clarify it by saying 2 or less STR guests above 18 years of age, adult, however you want to handle it.
yeah, or they have to fit in the same car.
Let's not try to like overthink it.
Yeah, I think adult is a good one.
Yeah, we're just trying to make it so kids and parents can stay in.
Okay. Every bedroom occupied by one person shall contain at least 70 square feet of floor area, and every bedroom occupied by more than one person shall contain at least 50 square feet of floor area for each
Oh,
occupant.
there you go.
So yes, there is a code.
Can we cut and
I
paste
don't
that?
know where to look for
Maybe we should cut and
But
paste
is
it.
there a age
But that's,
associated with that?
Nope, there's no.
we already
age.
referenced building, so I don't
Okay.
think we need to start quoting if we start quoting building code in this, if they make
And
a
they change
change,
it,
then we
yeah.
gotta change
Yeah, I
this.
know.
But
I don't
that's
think
the
it's
answer to the
about,
question.
it's, the question is, does building code just answer this for us? Or do we need to come up with an age? Like,
No, I don't
I
think.
Well,
it-
I think we do, because the way it's worded right now, we say in part by 2 or less SDR guests. So right now, we are saying if there was a couple, either one parent's got to not stay there or one kid's not going to stay there, because we're not defining the guests, we're just saying guests. So if we're going to exclude children, we do need to say, because right now, guest is everybody staying there.
Right, but I guess if we say.
I thought just adding adults fixes it.
Right.
Yeah, but does that limit them to then just adults if they wanted to rent?
No, no,
Okay.
in part by 2 or
Well,
less.
that's what I was
Right.
thinking, is like, could you be 7? What if it's a 16-year-old?
Yeah, or.
And they wanted
16.
to go on their own? What is the question?
We can have senior prom party there. Is
Yeah.
that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
interesting.
Oh, okay.
It can be the Jersey
Smart.
Shore.
But it's in
I
the
don't
woods.
Then the easiest way then is to just take out the number totally. As occupied in part by the owner and in part by the
Yeah.
guests.
Yeah.
And then
Right,
we
you
don't
go.
yeah, what
worry
if
about a
somebody
number.
owns and has 4 bedrooms,
And 4 kids.
you know,
Mhm.
rented in part, and they're renting out for, the
Yeah.
kids have the nerve to go away to college and they
Okay.
rent it out. Are we gonna say, no, you can't?
In part by the,
So we just say
SDR.
rented in part by the owner and in part by the guests
Part by
simultaneously.
the-
Yeah, because we have a cap of
Yes.
guests at a single time that we put in our definitions.
Yeah. We still haven't addressed the adults or the kids or both.
We don't have to now.
We don't have, to.
Yeah,
that's the amount of people,
okay.
based on what the.
So we're gonna say that it's
the
being
size.
occupied in part by
What
the
place
owner and in
holds.
part by STR guests simultaneously.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Jerry's gonna set the occupancy for each unit
Right.
anyway, so there we go.
You think about like a Jersey Shore rental and it says it sleeps 6 sets of bunk beds, you're not staying there as an adult unless you don't get along with it,
Yeah.
you know, or vice versa. If it's all queen size beds, you go, this
Well,
isn't really kid friendly one.
But
you
Jerry's
make that
gonna,
decision
Jerry's
as
gonna
the
release
purchaser.
and, or they're gonna do the inspection, and they're gonna determine if it meets the code or not,
Mhm.
so.
I never had enough rope to tie up the other kids.
So this, the use of a parcel for the rental or lease of any, so if it's above 30 days, it's not an STR. I think they don't
Right,
understand that.
then,
It stops being an
a lease.
STR, then it's a
LTR.
lease. So an
LTR.
STR is by definition 30 days or less. As soon as you hit day 31, it's
It's just a regular rental.
regular rental, and it's not part.
you might
an
actually
STR.
want to make this for a period of less than 30 days, because generally a rental is 30 days or more.
Okay, well, let's go back
What do
to definition. It's in the definition.
Okay.
For a period of 30 days or less. So we'll just say less than 30 days.
Is that okay with you guys?
Sounds
yeah.
good.
I think that was our only point.
Well, they were also trying to say that when it's 90, but if it's 90,
If
it's
it's
not a
90, then
short-term
it's a
rental.
lease.
Okay. So other than this one change that I have to add here, I will make that change and circulate it to everybody tomorrow. And then Kate, I'll get it to you to get back out on the website, and we'll hold the public hearing on the 12th. 9 o'clock. Obviously, we're not going to get that on tonight, so with all this stuff, do you want to skip the next 3 discussion items? Let me just tell you real quick about the American Recovery Act. I emailed all of you the 35-page book that printed all out. What I'd like us to do is kind of come up with ideas. We already did sort of talk about ideas in general. You and I both agreed on that broadband is very important.
Broadband is
I've
important.
tried to get in touch with Charter Spectrum with zero luck. I've emailed the contact that I have now, that the guy that was there who would sometimes answer me. Sometimes he was very attentive, other times it would go months. There's a new person there. She has yet to respond to my emails. I'm gonna continue to try to
How
get in
does our
touch with
town
somebody.
contract read with them? Because it used to read when it was Time Warner, of course, or be,
It hasn't changed.
there's, I thought back when we put a clause in there for the expansion,
Oh, there is,
but it was a
there's a certain
phenomenal,
amount that they,
yeah,
that,
started out at 25
Yeah.
homes per mile, which was ridiculous.
right, well, all that is in the contract. There is a lot of questions whether they're actually honoring the contract. They, of course, fall back on we're a cable TV company, not a broadband company. Our contract is for cable vision. We don't have to deal with broadband. And then, no, but just let me,
Uh-huh.
so the other thing is, the last time they start trying to count every new account they sign up as build out. Many of these new accounts are just people that have joined in on existing lines. But they sent me, when I first questioned them on build out, they sent me a list of all the new accounts since the last contract. And I said, yeah, but the majority, including, I found my own on there. And I said, yeah, but all these lines already existed, or most of these, you haven't. I said, how many miles of new lines did you
None.
build? And I got silence. So I'm trying to work all out. All that being said is, we know there are some areas that have no coverage. There's no, what I think if we're going to do that, we're gonna have to try to identify where we can get the most coverage for the amount spent.
My suggestion, we use Spectrum for our cable, but what about Verizon or DirecTV or somebody else that could give us and link into this?
They're not, it's not reliable enough. DirecTV satellite, and satellite doesn't work in a lot of our.
I'm gonna dispute that, but Verizon, although it was my router, they have been good with me. Cable and I'm not for
We could
cable, but
explore,
for
through.
the
well,
internet.
We could explore through Verizon. I don't know.
Is that an option? That's
No.
my question.
Yeah,
Something we can look into.
yeah.
AT&T, of course, is in with DirecTV.
Yeah.
They are now with that, but Verizon is its own entity. And I have kept
Understood.
them and they've been pretty stable.
Now through your phone line.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also, no, actually, no, it's through a router system.
But that comes into your house through your phone.
Probably comes
Yeah.
into my
Yeah.
phone line, yes,
Because Verizon, it has to be coming into your
Yeah.
phone line.
because I keep both. I keep.
Because we
both
don't
there.
have, we don't have FiOS.
No, we
and
do not
won't
have FiOS. No, we're never
And-
gonna
and
have
they're not gonna
FiOS.
do that.
I
You're
don't,
never gonna do the
It's expensive for
infrastructure.
them to do that.
but I'm
You
gonna
know,
say if people have a phone line that comes in,
They have a Verizon phone line.
well, yes,
Yeah,
but I just wondered what
it's an option.
would be an option. Because it's not getting back to us.
I'm wondering though, if that's the case, why many people haven't gone that route.
And there's another dish type of network.
Well, there's a new,
HughesNet,
yeah, HughesNet is
another
the
satellite.
same
thing.
as, yeah, satellite is not, the areas that don't have build out probably aren't gonna be HughesNet
They're more
capable.
in the woods and the HughesNet's not
Yeah.
gonna work.
Yeah.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but it's just things that I had been thinking of.
Now, there's a few other ideas Aaron brought up, increasing our technology.
Yes,
Certainly working on a better way to stream our meetings. Those are fairly inexpensive costs, probably, 5, 6, I'm just throwing out a number, I have no idea, but buying a better way to communicate. One of the things maybe to consider is looking into upgrades or a different website. What we're doing now is basically being done through WordPress. It's good, but it's fairly rudimentary, and we could spend some money to increase to a different, better website. These are just ideas. popped
the
into
other
my head.
idea I had that I have thought of most recently because of my own computer. Would that monies allow us to have a computer as we take office and then turn it in at the end?
I'd have to look
As
into
we
that.
sat here and then we
Yep.
could see our emails.
Well, we have the
I know.
iPad in the budget.
We have the iPad in the budget. We have never done it. It's in
And
the
that's
budget
why
this
I'm
year.
saying-
We could do that.
And
this
maybe
year.
one for Kate, if she
Yeah.
needed one here at a meeting.
I think iPads are a great idea.
Yeah.
Because everyone uses their personal computer.
That's why I
They're
was,
really kind of.
that's why I was,
Well, the thing is, you have 10 records on your personal computer.
yeah, I don't
It's-
want them on, yeah, I
No,
would rather
iPads,
have.
iPads
them.
are a good idea, and I would have to find out if that is a reimbursable.
And that
cost
was my
under-
question,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. The booklet is still,
Yeah, it wasn't super helpful.
I called,
No, I read it.
I
all.
read it and I was like, okay.
I
well,
picked up the phone and I called the deputy comptroller, Mr. Auerbach.
Okay.
And I said,
Mr.
Elliot, what
Elliot.
can you tell me about this? And he said, let me send you the, and I said, okay. And then what he sent me was what I already had. So
Okay.
the only thing that's clear about this is
That it's
there's
not
a few
clear.
that we definitely know we can do.
Yeah.
The others are still kind of gray areas. The good news is the first portion of the money has been deposited in our account.
Okay.
Tim and I are learning through this other booklet about how to account for it.
That's what I was
And
curious too.
we have to spend it or give it back by the end of 2024. And we do have to do
We can do that.
quarterly reports back. There's, as usual, as like any other federal project, there is a ton of record keeping that has to be maintained.
I'm just curious
and-
if we could get those, a
Well,
notepad or
And
something.
we can look into it.
Maybe that's a specific question. And if you get a
Yeah.
definite no,
Yeah.
then you can't. But if you get a maybe,
Yeah, is we haven't figured out who to ask the questions to yet. That's the problem. It's just moving
who
target.
wrote the book? Who wrote
Controller wrote it after reading the, I think eventually there will be a very defined book.
Right.
The county and the city of Kingston got a much thorougher book because they get their money directly from the treasury.
the-
We
Okay.
get our money from the state
Right.
because we're NEU, which I forgot what it stands for. But anyway, so just continue to think about some ideas. We've got some time.
But
I'm
those.
also gonna go
that's what I
through
came up
and
with,
any
because you sit here with your
reimbursements that we can
shits
make
and
to
tears
ourselves
and you don't-
for things that we already have incurred. Either reimbursements or revenue that was budgeted. There's a whole calculation, but I'm betting there's some revenue that we didn't get that we budgeted for that we can get credited for. But, you know, I want to try to think of the biggest bang for the buck, what we can with the residents. So
Agree, I
Yeah.
agree. That's
for
why I was
services to
broadband
the
and,
the most amount of people.
right, right.
We're
I mean,
talking-
we could spend $50,000 and get one house hooked up, or we could spend 100,000 and maybe get an area of 10 houses hooked up.
I
And
don't
we
know.
have money too.
We have 150,000 that we could add to it,
150,000.
We can,
Yes,
and that is earmarked specifically for broadband.
yes.
But I don't think we did not get as much money as originally was predicted. We
Right.
got about 50,000 less than
Right.
what was predicted.
I'm just,
It went by population, and I think somehow the estimates were probably off of the wrong numbers.
I heard it referred to as an acronym for the first time today. ARPA.
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 And I keep calling it American Recovery. It's not recovery. It's American Rescue Plan Act. That's the ARPA. The American Recovery was a few years prior to that. So that's where that stands. Jerry Davis, he was gonna send us an email. He did not yet, but apparently the people on Towpath Road that used to park there have now shifted to Berm Road past County Route 6. I'm gonna try to identify exactly where, and he's asking for a no parking area there. I'll report back to you guys.
Okay.
The no limit law, I took the planning board's recommendations. I took our existing code, I looked at Warsing's, and I wrote two versions. One is just a littering law, and the other is a combination of merging a new littering law with our solid waste law. I emailed those this afternoon.
I hadn't gotten it yet when I
Okay.
looked. Okay.
Take a peek at them, you know, it's a starting point. I took Warsing's and I took the planning board's ideas and kind of tried to merge them all together. I think we need to do something though.
Yeah.
So, okay,
all right,
a lot of stuff. Let's
I'd
go.
like to make a
Yeah,
motion to enter into executive session at 9:02 PM
thank
for
you.
the purposes of discussion of the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, collective bargaining agreement amendment, and matters leading to the employment of particular persons.
Okay, a second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. I'm gonna ask that we change the order and do C first, because I need to stay for C, and then she
Okay.
can leave when that's done, so.
Sounds good.